everybody, welcome to another live stream. This is our look back at the month of November. Did anything happen in November? I can't remember. Was there anything interesting?
Yeah, did anything happen? I think something happened in America, I think, didn't it?
There was somebody was elected, I think. We'll get on to that. So welcome our usual trio, Marlene, myself and Lynn. And hello. We've got the usual selection of clips and musings and witterings. But before we get on to the news, we have a milestone that we just want to brag about, really, don't we?
Yes. Indeed.
We have reached 300,000 downloads of our audio podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
300,000, and that's people who are listening to the audio podcast, so either directly on Podbean or, so that's quite significant, really, because that's our kind of main, listenership, as it were.
It is, yes.
But it's not our only listenership, because we've got people watching and listening on the YouTube channel as well. And I think that comes to another 150,000.
150,000. And we've got TikTok, and we can't count that because it's just too annoying.
Yeah, if they counted it for us, that would be good. But, anyway, they don't. So it's good. It just feels very satisfying, and it's gradually kind of built up, and we've gained a bit of momentum as over the last couple of years since we've been doing it, and then friends come on and help us do programs like Lynn, so it's great.
But you don't know your reach beyond that 300,000, because if they have watched it, they may speak about it to other people.
That's true. Yes.
They might watch it, or they've heard the information, the discussion, and might go and do a wee bit of research about the topics you've been talking about. So it's the ripple effect, dropping that little stone in the pool. And
exactly. And I'm just having a look at the comments. Hello, we've got quite a few people in there. Is that James Elliott?
Yes, look, James Elliott.
James Elliott, Indie Live Radio fame. Because if it is, we're turning the tables on you. We're broadcasting and you're commenting. You used to always be the other way around, didn't it?
That was good. That was a good way to start off. So where do we go next then?
Well, we're going to start with actually Holyrood. Trump has been elected. You'll all know this in America. And Patrick Harvie asked the question that was certainly on our lips at Holyrood, and he does not mince his words.
Yesterday, the First Minister offered congratulations to the convicted felon Donald Trump on his re-election. Writing officially on behalf of the Scottish Government, he wrote that he is sure Scotland's cultural and social ties with the US will flourish during the presidency of a misogynist, a climate denier, a fraudster, a conspiracy monger, a racist, a far-right politician who tried to overturn an election result both covertly and by inciting violence. Words fail me. What social and cultural ties does the First Minister really think will benefit from a relationship with such a man? And more importantly, what has the First Minister done so far to reach out to the marginalised and vulnerable people whose lives are most directly threatened by a second Trump term?
Well done,
well
Patrick.
said, Patrick.
I bet he had fun composing that question.
I bet he did. Yeah.
He didn't stay on the fence, did he?
No, he didn't stay on. He definitely didn't stay on the bench, and he won't be getting an invite to Mar-a-Lago either. But I don't think that'll bother him very much. I mean, I think a lot of people had that. I felt that a bit actually when I heard. I mean, I went reasonable and went, oh well, I suppose he had to. But actually, I think a lot of people kind of felt like that. But
you saw it across the globe, sitting presidents, prime ministers, whatever, offering their congratulations, and you just, there's part of me thinks like the whole thing's like, oh, it's protocol, and you're like, but it's dishonest, isn't it? We don't like the man.
It's just real politics, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll have a bit more of how that came about in a minute, but John Swinney, by Patrick's question, was kind of forced to explain himself. So here's what he said.
Presiding Officer, I have a duty as First Minister of Scotland to engage with other governments and to represent the people of Scotland in that process. And as part of that duty, I wrote the letter in question that Mr Harvie cites. I think there are deep cultural, social and economic ties between Scotland and the United States of America. I think they're important. They're important for employment in our economy, they're important for the cultural expression of our country and for the way in which we are able to pursue those objectives. So, whilst there are very clearly, because of what I said before the presidential election, very big real differences in expression and in priority and in way of life between me and Donald Trump, I cannot deny the existence of links between Scotland and the United States, and regardless of the presidential choice in the United States, I want to maintain good relationships between Scotland and the United States. And what I would say to Mr Harvie, and I think he knows me well enough to know, that the concerns of people who feel marginalised in our society, who feel under threat, are questions and concerns that I wrestle with every single day as First Minister, because I stood here and I pledged to be the First Minister of all of Scotland, and that's entirely what I intend to do.
Yeah, and I kind of want to give that a bit of a round of applause as well, actually. And I mean, if he hadn't congratulated him, he would have been criticised for that, probably by the Tories or someone. So it's kind of, you kind of win somewhere. But I see Evelyn, has just put up that comment. It's always easier to comment from the back seat. But there you go. Yeah,
it is.
And what he said was true. There's a lengthy history between Scotland and the US, thanks to the clearances. The diaspora, we're all over the place. And having travelled sort of quite extensively in America when I was younger, when you met people of Scottish heritage, they were almost more Scottish than I was. They'd never set foot in Scotland, but they played the bagpipes. They did Scottish country dancing. They could recite
Gaelic.
Speak Gaelic, yeah, speak Gaelic.
All these kind of things, because they cherish that history and that culture that they've got, where they've come from. So it's good. Yeah. And over there, nobody's trying to wipe it out of them, are they?
Hello, that's true enough, actually. And they do like the Scottish ancestors. I was having a wee walk along a lake somewhere in Maine in New England, and got chatting to this chap, and he said to me, I recognise where you're from. I recognise the accent. And I went, yeah, that's Scotland. And he went, yeah. He said, my name's Robert MacDonald. So he didn't have a Scottish accent, he had a very American accent. I said, well, it's very clear where your ancestor came from then, isn't it? So, there's all of that. I mean, I just kind of think I'm quite pleased that Patrick said that, but sympathies are also with the position that John Swinney.
Yeah.
The fact that he asked it, because lots of people would have been thinking it, gave John Swinney the opportunity to answer it, which explained it, I thought, quite succinctly. Just saying, as you say, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Absolutely. So let's have our next clip, shall we? Now, this is Donald Trump's niece. She's got a YouTube channel, and I have been finding it compulsive viewing, I have to say. Let's just put it that she's not his greatest fan. She's a writer, and she's quite good with her analysis. This was just a short clip of Mary explaining that America, or large parts of it, seem to have a case of buyer's regret.
A large number of American voters don't seem to understand that their votes have consequences. On election day, searches for, quote, how to change my vote spiked in states that Donald won, according to Google Analytics. This is basically buyer's remorse. Nationwide, we see that the top search trends also included things like, can I change my vote, which went up 700%? Will tariffs cause inflation, which went up 250%? Things I should buy before the tariffs are put in place, went up 250%. This kind of buyer's remorse should be completely unnecessary if people had done those searches before casting their ballots on November 5th. But there's also a possibility that, given the political landscape of the last 9 years, people just became completely detached from what was going on around them. If we needed any more evidence of this, how about this one? This search. Did Joe Biden drop out? Wow. That is damning information. So what are some possible reasons for this? Again, overwhelm. People are tired. People are exhausted. Also, we do not teach civics in this country. Civics is something we should be teaching at every level of education, so children understand not just what it means to be a participant in American democracy, but how things like elections and the composition of Congress and school boards, etc., actually shapes and affects their lives.
And that clip comes from the YouTube channel Mary Trump Media. I mean, just astonishing, the fact that on election day, people are going, where's Biden? And they hadn't realised he'd stepped back.
Yeah, but she's got something there with buyer's remorse, hasn't she? And,
yeah, well, it's a bit like the parallels with Labour here now. There's lots of people have got buyer's remorse over having lent their vote to Labour to get rid of the Tories. And,
And now it appears you've still got Tories. They're just called Labour these days. Marlene, you spotted something about Biden, was it?
Yeah, I did. This was yesterday evening. And I joined it was a Zoom meeting. It was a panel discussion that was arranged by Glasgow University, I think, Social Sciences departments, I think. And it was about the election and what had happened and why had it happened, and so far too much in it to see this minute, but just a couple of things. So when we got to the question and answers, I think one question was, is it really as bad as we all think it's going to be? And one of the panelists, who's a American researcher, although she's based in Manchester actually now, she said, look, Trump is not king, right? He's not king. He is not going to run again. He's there for 4 years and then he's gone. Well, and then she said, well, unless he says he's not going to go and he's going to be a dictator, but that's a whole different problem. But he's not now no longer a threat to Congress in terms of, she said, of course, Democrats don't want him, but actually there's quite a lot of Republicans are not fans of his, and they went along with him while he was kind of the leader of the party and, being successful. But this election has not been the great success that he's claiming, and he's got people in Congress who do not like him, and now they can come out in the open and they can make his life awkward. It's by no means sure that he can get some of the things that he wants through Congress because of that. So, and they have to run again. They'll have an election. Some of them have an election in 18 months. Some of the senators and representatives. So, I quite appreciated hearing that. So that was one thing. And just the other one thing to mention that I picked up on was we're talking about what had happened to the Democrat vote. And she said, Biden's had one of the most successful presidencies in terms of getting through his aims. So the aims that he said he had when he was running for president, he's been really successful at getting them through. But he didn't go around the country and tell people. People didn't know that, and it's something that happened last year and they've forgotten anyway, even if they paid any attention at the time. So because he didn't get his message over about what he'd actually done, folk went, oh, well, Biden, he's done nothing. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was quite telling. And actually, you've heard me say more than once that I think in Scotland, ScotGov is just hopeless at blowing its own trumpet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it. And I mean, there's Facebook pages and people post things and everything, but actually ScotGov doesn't go out and just make that known. And I just thought, well, they should listen to what this researcher was saying and apply it to themselves.
We need to broadcast the success of things that have happened, but people don't know. Yes, mainstream media is not our friend, so we should look at other ways. And social media, good as it is, doesn't reach everybody.
Well, that's a perfect link into our next clip, actually, because social media has been overtaken by bad actors, let's say. This is astonishing, actually, this clip. It's from a much longer one, and it's the amazing Led by Donkeys guys. And this was projected onto the Tesla building, and it's about Elon Musk and Twitter. So I think you'll enjoy this, and you'll be horrified.
This is the story of how the world's richest person, the owner of Tesla and X, bought the global town square, then corrupted it before using his immense wealth to help elect a convicted felon. April 14, 2022. Elon Musk makes an unsolicited offer to buy Twitter for $44 billion. He claims the site has become politically skewed and says, for Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral. February 12, 2023. Ahead of the Super Bowl, both Musk and President Joe Biden tweet their support for the Philadelphia Eagles. Biden's tweet is seen 29 million times, Musk's just 9 million times. Incensed, Musk leaves the game early and calls an impromptu meeting of Twitter engineers at 2:36 a.m. Their job? To change the Twitter algorithm to artificially inflate the reach of Musk's tweets by a factor of 1,000, making him the preeminent presence on the site. August 25th, Donald Trump, once banned, returns to the platform by posting a picture of his mugshot from Fulton County Jail with the words, "Election interference, never surrender." Musk reposts the shot. 4 days later, X reverses Twitter's long-standing ban on paid political advertising. May 2024, Musk creates a political action committee which he calls America PAC. Its objective is to mobilize 1 million Republican voters in swing states in an effort to hand the election to Trump. Musk commits to putting tens of millions of dollars of his own money into the Get Out the Vote push. July 14th, Musk calls Trump on behalf of J.D. Vance, urging Trump to select Vance as his running mate. Vance says abortion is murder and insults women who haven't become mothers.
A bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made.
Musk's phone call is part of a broad effort by Silicon Valley billionaires to ensure Vance is selected. The next day, Vance is unveiled as Trump's vice presidential candidate. September 9th, Musk spreads a conspiracy theory that immigrants in Ohio are eating people's pets. The following day, Trump repeats the slur during the presidential debate with Kamala Harris.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
The false claim leads to multiple bomb threats against the Springfield immigrant community. September 15th and 16th. Over a single weekend, Musk amplifies a conspiracy theory that ABC leaked sample debate questions to the Harris campaign, falsely claims that the Dems want to take your kids, further fuels racist lies about immigrants eating pets, shares with his nearly 200 million followers on X that Trump must win to, quote, preserve freedom and meritocracy in America, and insinuates that it is suspicious that no one is even trying to assassinate Biden and Kamala, adding a thinking face emoji. October 4th, Musk posts, unless Trump wins and we get rid of the mountain of smothering regulations that have nothing to do with safety, humanity will never reach Mars. Musk is the owner of SpaceX and stands to make billions from US government space contracts. October 5th, the user handle @America is taken from an X user and given by Musk to his America PAC. By now, he's moved with his senior team to a war room in a hotel in Pennsylvania to focus full-time on the Trump campaign. He speaks to Trump multiple times a week, is doing a series of pro-Trump town halls across the state, and has recruited lieutenants from his companies to join him. October 15th, legal filings from Musk's Political Action Committee show he has personally donated at least $75 million to the effort to re-elect Trump. October 18th, it's revealed that another Musk-funded group called Future Coalition PAC is targeting Muslim voters in Michigan and Jewish voters in Pennsylvania with diametrically opposed political advertisements about Kamala Harris. Simultaneously, Musk is offering $100 to any Pennsylvania voter who signs his online petition as part of an effort to build a list of likely Trump voters. He also starts giving away $1 million a day to a randomly chosen voter who signed the petition. October 19th, it's revealed that the Building America's Future PAC, another Musk-funded campaign group, is impersonating the Harris campaign by setting up a fake website containing fake policy positions, then sending out text messages driving voters to the fake site. Apart from Trump himself, Musk is now the single biggest spreader of election disinformation. November 5th, Trump wins the presidential election. Elon Musk, a far-right conspiracy theorist, has succeeded in using his immense wealth to help swing the election in favor of a convicted felon.
Just gobsmacking, isn't it?
Yeah.
That algorithm 1,000 times amplified.
And you see the gaslighting going on. You know, say if Trump doesn't win, it will not maintain the meritocracy. I don't think there's any meritocracy happening over there anyway.
Billionaireocracy.
Yeah, that's it. It's utterly horrific. Over here, there's regulations on what you can actually spend in an election. There seems to be no limits over there. 75 million he donated to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty horrifying.
It is. And I see Evelyn again relating to that comment we made about the Scottish government. How can they get the message across if MSN don't cover it? That's exactly the problem, isn't it? But it's also social media is what we used to rely on to get the messages out.
But then when you see Musk misusing that social media for, well, I didn't even know that in the past Twitter was non-political or didn't allow political advertising, and then he just sweeps that away. It's quite sort of scary, isn't it? And I mean, like the other day, there's a presidential election on in Romania, and the chap he's only ahead in the first round. I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to win it, but he's quite right wing, and kind of campaigning is through social media. I mean, he doesn't have people on the ground. It's just people who see him on social media. And if that was to go, given that social media can be manipulated by the person who owns it, then you get a little bit depressed about democracy managing to keep its head above water.
We have taken action, though, haven't we? Lynn has come off Twitter altogether. On my personal account, I've just posted that I'm not going to be posting anymore there. And in a week or so, I'll get rid of it. And although we've still got the Twitter account for the podcast, other than posting when an episode goes out, we're not going to engage on Twitter anymore. But what we have done is made the jump to Blue Sky. And it's really nice. We're enjoying Blue Sky. There's no adverts. Everybody's really nice. There's an awful lot of people there that we know who we haven't seen tweets from them for ages, probably because of his algorithm. So that's really quite nice. So just if anybody's wondering where to find us and engage with us on social media, we are active on Blue Sky, Mastodon, a little bit on Facebook. That's mainly Marlene's doing rather than anything that I do. Instagram, Threads, occasionally on TikTok. We're trying to do a bit more of that, and of course YouTube. So you should be able to get us one way or another, but not on X.
Not on X. That's true. So look, have we got something to take our minds off Elon Musk?
Don't despair, everybody. Janey's here. Now, for the benefit of listeners, at this point in the live stream, we played one of Janey Godley's voiceover clips. It's still funny even without the visuals, I think. But if you want to imagine it, it's a black mother bear transporting her cubs one by one across a busy road. And as soon as she gets one across, another one runs back. And this is the dialogue that she's put to it.
Come on. Right, come on, the whole lot of you. Stephen McClatchy Wilson, right across this road. The rest of you follow me. Come on. Jeanette, Sean, William, come on, across the road. The whole lot of you get moving. I'm going to climb this tree. Mammy, where are you going? Stephen's going up the tree, Mammy. Where's my mammy going? I'm just going to go up this tree. Stephen, what have I told you? Get off that tree. Come here, you get down, what have you been told, don't you? Get down right now. Get down. Mammy, I'm back. Oh, Jesus Christ, I've not got a minute to myself. You, come here. Honest to God, there's motors coming. Where's your dad? See, when I get him, I'm going to put my toe up the crack of his arse as well. Right, come here, the two of you. There's going to be motors coming, they're going to squash you. Right, you, follow me now. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm absolutely affronted in public with your behaviour.
Oh, that's what my gran used to say. I'm affronted, black affronted.
Black affronted. Yeah, my granny used to say that as well. I mean, it's so funny that, and yeah, well, of course, that's the other thing, isn't it? Janey Godley having died.
Yeah. Yes, rest in peace, Janey. We've got a bit of a tribute to her coming later on. Actually,
although I have seen her friends saying, "Listen, Janey's not going to be resting in peace wherever she is. She'll be getting on with things."
And we have the legacy of her back catalogue of all the stuff she's done, you know, the Sandras and the soup pot and everything there. It's there.
Yeah.
So
all the Sandras and the soup pot and Catherine. I always used to kill myself laughing at just the way she pronounced Catherine, because it was always Catherine. Okay, thank you. That's cheered me up a bit.
Yeah, that would be better. So let's go to Holyrood. This is John Swinney in action again, and dealing with question from Edward Mountain. You know what he's like. I quite like him as the chair of the Net Zero Committee, but every now and again he just does this sort of sulky schoolboy nonsense, and that's kind of what he's doing here. But John deals with him.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. The inquiry stated in paragraph 138 of their report that, based on the evidence from Transport Scotland and the Scottish Government, that since the promise to dual the A9 by 2025, transport projects in central and southern Scotland were prioritised. Given this fact, First Minister, will you be prepared to come up to the Highlands and meet with campaigners and those people on the ground to convince them that your word will hold true this time, whereas the government's word in the past has not?
First Minister.
You see, that's where I think these kind of contributions don't help the reasoned deliberation of policy within this Parliament, because, as I pointed out last week, I came into government here in 2007, committed to A9 dualling, and this Parliament took a decision which stopped me from spending £500 million on A9 dualling because the Conservatives, the Labour Party, the Liberals and the Greens forced me, as a Minister in a minority government, to spend £500 million on the Edinburgh Tram project, when this government had a commitment to spend it on A9 dualling.
Let's hear the First Minister.
In the subsequent period, and your colleagues are muttering 17 years ago. Well, if we'd been able to proceed with projects at that time, we would have had £500 million at our disposal to dual the A9, which would have helped. Now, I'm a bit perplexed by what projects Mr Mountain doesn't want us to have taken forward. Did he not want us to take forward the Queensferry crossing? Did he not want us to take forward the Aberdeen Western Peripheral Route? There's Mr Burnett sitting there. He'll be driving on the Aberdeen Western Peripheral Route, so will be Liam Kerr. Do they not want these projects to be delivered in different parts of the country? This Parliament needs to have a reasoned debate about the limitations of resources, and we'll have less posturing from the Conservatives.
I think it's quite good just to remind ourselves that whole A9 thing, SNP didn't want to go ahead with the trams and they were forced into it.
Because I do a bit of work up in the Highlands and I'm quite vocal about my politics, you'll be surprised. But I get that thrown in my face from people that live up in Inverness. What happened to the A9 being dualled? You know? So now I've listened to this, I can go back and say, right, here's what happened to it. In fact, I'm actually heading there tomorrow, so no doubt I'll get it.
Yeah, it's that kind of exchange where, I mean, he knows perfectly well what happened with that way back then. I mean, he knows that, and then just comes in as if they've broken their promises. And, you know, I just hate that sort of thing. And you get it a lot. I mean, you get it loads all over. You get it in the Commons, but more. You didn't used to get it so much in Holyrood, way, you know, further back, but you certainly get. I mean, do they think our heads button up the back and we don't know things?
Clearly
John Swinney. Clearly, John Swinney remembers it.
Yeah. Well, now we all remember it
as well.
That point that you make there, it's like mud sticking. If you throw enough of it around, somebody will. They'll just remember the thing they heard that was critical. And actually, this next clip is from Westminster, which we don't dip into very often these days because it's boring these days. This is Brendan O'Hara, and he asks a question, quite a good question. He gets a reply, and then Starmer can't resist hurling an unspecific, unsubstantiated nonsense piece of insult.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was in South Lochaber at the weekend speaking to pensioners who still cannot understand why the Prime Minister chose to take away their winter fuel payment. And one of them remembered from just 2 years ago the then leader of the opposition saying, "Looking ahead to winter is frightening. I've met pensioners who have no idea how they'll heat their home." And she asked me to ask you, Prime Minister, whatever happened to that guy?
Mr. Speaker, as he knows from previous answers, we've taken tough decisions in this budget to deal with the situation that we faced. Because of that, we've stabilised the economy, which means we can commit to the triple lock. Because of the triple lock, pensioners will be better off. But I'll take no lectures from his party about running the economy. Their record in Scotland is terrible.
So there you go. Their record is terrible. Record of what? Based on what? What are you talking about? Almost everything.
Where's your evidence?
Where's your evidence?
I know. And then Rachel Reeves sitting beside him going, I've taken difficult decisions. Difficult decisions are difficult decisions about finance. And I can't quite do it, actually. I've just got to
keep practicing. You're getting there.
I'm getting there. Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like like you were saying, things stick, don't they? It's not necessarily correct, but it sticks. And then a situation like the Common, Starmer knows fine, he gets the last word, and no one's going to even be allowed actually to interrupt. Mind you, to some extent that happens in Holyrood. In Holyrood, I don't think you get that kind of smart thing that isn't based on anything. But Nicola Sturgeon used to be really good at First Minister's question. Now, she knows like 2 questions from, the Tories. She knows she's got the last word on the second one, and she just lets fly with it. So it's kind of par for the course. But it shouldn't be just something like that. They've got a terrible record.
Yeah, there's nothing to substantiate.
If you hear that, and especially if you don't live in Scotland, if you hear that over and over again, that becomes the accepted truth, and you don't question it because that's what you hear. So, it's...
But now you've got the situation where Labour in Scotland are saying, the Scottish Government, the SNP, have to reverse the non-payment of the winter fuel allowance. So that, and you're like, well, it was due to be devolved in September and replaced with the Scottish Government equivalent. But in July, UK Labour announced that it would be abolished for everyone except those on pension credit. They didn't consult the Scottish Government. They notified them shortly before making the announcement. So there's no way to argue that the Scottish Government chose to cut the allowance. It had no involvement in that decision, and then you've got Labour MPs in Westminster who voted to cut that allowance.
Yeah, but do you not think that's what they're trying to do? Because I seem to recall, was it the SNP at Westminster who forced Labour to vote against something, and then we all criticised them for voting against it? I can't remember what it was now. These guys are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to force the SNP in Holyrood to vote against reinstating the winter fuel payment, and that's then making them the bad guys, where we know the actual bad guys is Westminster. So I can kind of see his fiendish plot here, but he does look like just an idiot for lots of reasons.
That wasn't the words you used about him the other night.
I know, but I didn't have people in the comments who'd pick me up about it today. These have been sort of coming in as we're talking. It's kind of hard to keep track of them sometimes. But going back to the A9, this is a good point from James. It's not the road that's the killer, it's the people that drive on it. Well, there is some truth in that, isn't there?
It is true, actually. I actually really enjoy driving up the A9, and that's because I'm going on my holidays, and I don't drive fast anyway. But, if you live up in Inverness, or you've got a business, or you're taking trucks up, they do need it to be dual, actually.
Yeah, they definitely do.
It's the one main road up there. Otherwise, you either have your way around by Aberdeen. So it's fair enough, really.
Even if you are going on your holidays, which I often am as well, heading up there, there's the frustration at the sheer volume of traffic sometimes, and you've got people in camper vans or towing caravans, and you just can't get past them. And then you get to a little bit that's dualed, and they speed up. And you're like, no, stay at that speed. Let everybody else who's frustrated behind you get past.
Okay, so now we need something to take our mind off the A9, Fiona. So
okay, I have got something that will take your mind off the A9. We're moving away from Westminster and Holyrood. Marlene and I were at the Revive Coalition conference in Perth, and there's going to be at least one, if not 2 shows that we'll do about it, because it was a fantastic conference, really inspirational stuff. That's a coalition of people who want to reform grouse moors, and the debate's going very much into land reform, that kind of thing, which we're very much in favour of. But they are launching a consultation. It's going to run for about a year, called the Big Scottish Land Question. So this is something we can all take part in and put out whatever views we've got on what should happen in terms of land reform. Here's the opportunity to do so. So this is Max Wisniewski from the Revive Coalition officially launching the Big Land Question.
The Big Land Question that we're launching is a facilitation
We're trying to facilitate a national conversation about land reform and about the Scotland that you want to live in. So just to introduce the Scottish Big Land question is once again going to be David Heyman.
Hi, my name is David Heyman, and ever since I made a documentary about the battle for Scotland's countryside, I've been passionate about the way Scotland's land is used and sometimes abused. Land ownership inequality restricts opportunities for our people, and Scotland is one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. That's why when the Revive Coalition asked me to front the Big Land question, I was more than up for it. Now, the Big Land question is a Scotland-wide project which we hope will inform the next Scottish Parliament after the elections in 2026. The Big Land question will be asked through opinion polls, expert roundtables, focus groups, citizens panels, and this opportunity for you to have your say.
So thank you so much for that, David. So David will be introducing questions and you'll be able to answer, and at the end of that process, after answering questions about land taxes, housing, wildlife and environmental protection, you can also put in your vision and your ideas too. So I would encourage anyone here to look on revive.scot, and it's the first thing that will pop up on the website, and you can answer the Big Land question. We talk about 433 people owning half of Scotland's private land. There's more people in this room than the amount of people that own half of Scotland's private land. And more than that, there's more people in this room, I believe, that answered the Scottish Government's last consultation on land reform. So if everyone here can get together and respond, we're already got a really good start. So please do fill it in. Thank you so much. And I now consider the Big Land question launched. Thank you.
So we now consider it publicised.
Publicised, yes. Well, I went on to the website and worked my way through it's a really good setup. David Heyman kind of asks the question, and then you get choices, and you kind of put in what you think. It's not hard to do. It took me about 15 minutes, I think, but it was good. So please, anyone watching or listening to this, go onto the website and just do it. Because as he said there, I mean, it is yet another kind of national conversation that we could be having and should be having with ourselves. Yeah,
and a lot of it's within the devolved responsibility as well. This is something we've got control over, an awful lot of it. So we should be able to do a bit more than we have.
I think that's an interesting point to pick up, because it is within the Scottish Government's possibility to do something out. They just need to be a bit bolder, but we can help that by going in and, making our views known. But I just wish they'd just be a bit bolder, pick up on something over the next year or so and at least make a start on it, because they could. No one can come in and say, well, I was going to say Westminster can't come in and say, no, you're not getting to do that. But actually, they probably could. But anyway, let's go ahead and do it. Make a start.
The rest of the clips we've got, is all about trying to fill that gap and talking up Scotland that Professor John Robertson does so well. But also there's a lot of good stuff going on. And here's something that Lynn found, which is a project called Restoration Forth. And it's delightful. It's about seagrass and oysters.
Restoration Forth, a project which brings together communities and organisations to make waves for a brighter future. Scotland is home to some of the most incredible wildlife and habitats in the world. But nature's in trouble, with 1 in 9 Scottish species at risk of extinction. Since 2022, communities and organisations have been working together to restore wildlife and habitats by trialling seagrass restoration and reintroducing European flat oysters to the Firth of Forth.
156,000 seagrass seeds were planted in the Firth of Forth, which were harvested from Orkney and the Moray Firth.
You hear a lot about global warming and the biodiversity crisis, and seagrass brings those two things together and hopefully helps to improve both of them. Restoring the seagrass beds should help improve the coastal environment and make a big difference.
We've learned a lot, but restoration doesn't come without its challenges. What the project has discovered has been incredibly helpful and will support future restoration projects. Seagrass works in harmony with oysters, and together they provide refuge to many animals, protect coastlines and remove pollutants from the water, making it safer for us all.
What they do is really important for the ecosystem, and I think one day that people are going to look at the Firth of Forth and they're going to be like, wow, it looks so good and so clear, and they're going to be like, this is why what we do matters.
That's great. I really
good.
Yeah.
Well done for spotting that one, Lynn.
I'm not sure how much the oysters liked being launched into the water.
I was on holiday earlier this year in Tromsø in Norway, up in the Arctic Circle, and they've got massive seagrass plantations, and it's many times better at sequestering carbon than trees are. So it's really valuable stuff. And what they started doing is breeding these horrifying looking wolffish, I think, and they eat starfish, because starfish eat seagrass. And because the starfish's natural predators had disappeared from the area, they were just decimating the seagrass as fast as they could plant. So everything's joined up, isn't it? All these things are connected. So what other good news stories have we got? Marlene, you've got a few.
I've got some that I picked up on. The Scottish space sector. So 10 years ago, Scotland's gone from never having launched a satellite anywhere to building more than anywhere else in Europe.
Wow.
It's kind of like, I think actually I did kind of know that, but it's not something
that's not been broadcast about.
Yes, exactly.
You think we could launch a satellite to broadcast these things, wouldn't you, if we own the industry?
Yeah, I know that what that means is jobs, really good jobs. It means that there's jobs for that in Scotland, and it's expanding. So good, satisfying jobs with good pay. Actually, that's what we need. So that was one thing I came across, and then this is about teachers' starting salaries now. But this is taken from Prospect, which is university website that just gives guidance to students when they're thinking, where can I get a job? What these qualifications? So you'll be glad to know that the starting salary in Scotland for a teacher is 38,600 odd. 38,600. In Northern Ireland, it's 24,000 and a bit. In most of England and Wales, it's about 30,000, and in inner London, they've got extra. They get extra cash allowance. Even they're not at 38. They start at 36,700. So, and this is just the information that students all over the UK are thinking. Oh, where could I? If I'm going to be a teacher, where's the best place to go? Which the answer seems to be, well, you get more money if you come to Scotland. That's good. Third thing. Oh yeah, this is from, well, there's a whole load of information about this, but it was a new Newsweek. It's actually Newsweek, and they put together lists of best hospitals, and they do it all around the world. So they've got a list of the best UK hospitals. There's 125 hospitals in it. The Glasgow Royal Infirmary comes in at number 18 out of 125. Edinburgh Royal Infirmary is number 25 out of 125, and the Queen Elizabeth, over the other side of the Clyde from me, is number 49 out of 125. So, just doing really well. And you just don't see it, especially about Queen Elizabeth. Anything on BBC Scotland about the Queen Elizabeth Hospital is always awful. Good to know that's happening. And then just the last one I picked up was about, it's more about health spending per person in Scotland. This coming year, Scottish Government will be spending about 3% more per person than Westminster will be spending for the people down in England. So again, it's just stuff that you don't come across, and these are all from a website and a Facebook page called We Are the Indie Media. So it's just
a good one to
follow and just keep an eye on. I think it's just one chap who runs it and makes these images that I've put up. So yeah, if you come across that, give him a follow. I think he's got loads of information there. It's really good. So that all kind of cheered me up a bit.
And what's really good about these, Marlene, is that it's got links there.
Yes,
so
exactly.
If you share that, anyone can see, here's your evidence for that.
Yes.
You can go look at the link.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that one is where I got the information about the background to the ones about the hospital, because I followed the link. And that one about spending, that's from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, which is not in any way an independence-leaning kind of, think tank. It's, probably the opposite, but they are respected, and that information's from them. So Yes,
that's at least 3 good sources. I mean, we've drawn from Professor John Robson talking up Scotland. His is always referenced as well with the source. That one, Indie Media, we are Indie Media.
We are the Indie Media.
Yeah. And of course, Believe in Scotland's website is all referenced, and the little books and everything they produce. So the information is there. It's just getting it out. So all we can do is try our best to get it out to as many people as we can.
Especially people that are not convinced yet.
Well, indeed, yeah. Anybody heard any more good stories? There was something about snares, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I just read a wee bit earlier, and it's to do with the Wildlife Management and Muirburn Scotland bill. And the Greens put an amendment in to get snares banned, and that has passed. So snares are now illegal in Scotland because they don't differentiate as to what they snare.
Yeah, so it is really good that they did it, and at least that's one. I mean, there's lots of things in that Muirburn bill, and some of them are having to be gone back to and rephrased at the moment. But actually, that one, it's just now, it's in force, I think, the other day, and that's just brilliant. And it will have an impact on grouse moors because it's mostly up there that the snares get set, because some innocent wee animal might, kill a grouse for its tea or something or whatever. Anyway, I came across another one, which I just like. I saw it on Instagram today, and it was the Scottish government minister who's seeing there's a housing bill going through Holyrood, and he was visiting the SSPCA, and I was thinking, well, why is the housing minister going to visit the SSPCA, rescuing animals? So apparently it's because they've been, and other people have been saying, can we do something to make it easier for people in rented accommodation to have their pets with them? And in particular, people whose hard times can't pay the mortgage, having to go into rented accommodation, they want to take their pets. Or first SSPCA lady that was talking about it said, look, it's absolutely proven that having a pet helps with mental health and
loneliness.
And loneliness. And someone then has to move, and the landlord up until now has been able to could just give a blanket no pets allowed. So that's going to stop. I mean, it's still going through the bill. But I just caught it this morning on Instagram. I just thought that's just great, actually, and it will help. It will help people, and the landlords will still be able to put reasonable conditions on having a pet in the property, but they're no longer. The idea, anyway, is that they would no longer just be able to say blanket ban, no pets. That won't be allowed. It's great. I thought it was good, and it's just. Is it not true? It's just like little things. That's just. It's just a little thing in a way, but it could just make a hell of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to finish just by saying 30th of November is coming up. St. Andrew's Day, of course. Those of us who paint stones will probably distribute a few. We remember one year we did 100 each. It was fantastic. They were everywhere. But this year there's so much going on 30th, but 2 huge figures from the independence campaign, as we know. Janey Godley, it's her funeral, isn't it, Marlene? There's a procession.
A funeral on Saturday,
There's also Alex Salmon's memorial at St. Giles's in Edinburgh. Now, it's invite only to get inside the church, but we're planning on being outside it somewhere with the yes slates, aren't we, Lynn? And if anybody's out and about on the high street, I'm hoping it's not going to be torrential rain, but and you see us, then come and say hello. Hopefully we'll chat to some people around on the street.
I was just going to say one other wee thing. I know there's a petition doing the rounds, and it's one of these official UK government and parliament petitions, and it's for call a general election, basically because Labour have lied in what they said. So we need to have another general election. So far, there are 2,341,137 people have signed this petition.
Who are these people, though? Because I was trying to work this out, because if you've got 2 million people who are disappointed, as I am, with the Labour government, what's the alternative? Are they wanting the Tories back? Or are they wanting reform in, perhaps? Or is it 2 million Russian bots that are signing it?
Well, I mean, that's not as daft, I thought, as some people might claim, the one about the bots, because Elon Musk sorry to go back, but Elon Musk has picked up on this petition and he's been pushing it on Twitter. So I just think, get out of our politics. Stick to the other side of the Atlantic, and you've made enough of a mess there. Oh, look, come on, we need cheering up. Come on, we really need something.
And a wildcat spotted in the Highlands. An untagged and uncollared wildcat. So this is one that has just come about by natural, not part of any breeding program. So the wildcats are doing what they do best, being wildcats.
Well, that's good news. So if anybody spots a wildcat, report it to who? In fact, report it to us and we'll put it on the next good news thing. Anyway, that's hope you've enjoyed that. Sorry if there's to anybody in the comments who we've not managed to pick yours up. They go quite fast sometimes. And we're just going to finish with a tribute to Janey Godley. I think this came from BBC Scotland, didn't it, originally, but we'll forgive them for that. So rest in peace, Janey. And
or if you're not resting in peace, have a good time.
Yes, get out there and haunt Trump.
Haunt Trump.
So here we go. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll play this out and then we'll finish. It's Christmas and New Year. We'll let you know what's going to happen next month because we haven't figured it out yet. We're still working on it.
Anyway. We're not doing a Christmas Eve live podcast.
Well, it might just be you, me, and a bottle of Prosecco, Lynn. So that's...
My name is Janey Godley. Under both breasts, I can get 2 Cornish pasties, 2 bottles of iron brew, and a sausage dug.
Born Janey Godley Curry in Glasgow in 1963, both parents were addicted to alcohol, and the family was chaotic and poor.
Sometimes out in the street, I would kneel down and scoop puddle water because I was thirsty but too scared to go home. Women can meet a man and go, "What's your name?" "Tam." "What do you do?" "I'm a joiner." And she'll go, "This is Thomas, he's going to be an architect."
While she made waves locally, her fame was limited to Scotland until she protested President Donald Trump.
The protesters demonstrated in Glasgow, Scotland's largest city, against Mr. Trump's visit to the UK.
I love the people of Scotland.
How much we hate him. Tell everybody how much we hate Donald Trump.
Donald Trump hates not being liked. If what I do didn't affect him, why does he keep sending the cops after us? Right, I'm heading home. I've had enough. Where's my clicky pen? Peter killing me. Frank, get the door!
The COVID experience for all of us was really, really difficult. There were days when probably the only thing that made us smile, let alone laugh, was Janey Godley. So you helped a lot of people through, Janey.
Bless you.
Her Not Dead Yet tour saw her play some of the biggest venues of her career.
See if my ma was in the hospital and the nurse went, "I'm sorry, but your daughter's gluten, she can't eat bread." My ma be like, "Just let her die, it's awfully inconvenient."
The winner of the Billy Connolly Award, believe it or not, is Janey Godley.
I have won an award for the man that I have loved as a child, and this is the hugest honour that I could have. It is devastating news to know that I'm facing the end of life, but we all come to an end sometime. Thank you very much. You've been awesome, happy Janey. Good night.
So thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to watch the video version of this live stream, it's available on our YouTube channel. And as we said there, we're not sure if there'll be another live stream next month, with it being Christmas and New Year, but we're aiming to carry on with our podcast every Friday right through the festive period. So we'll catch you later. Bye now.